On today's World Insight, ultra-modern, smart, autonomous production lines powered with artificial intelligence. How are companies tapping into these innovations to keep their operations efficient amid global changes? Answers from top government and company executives at the recent World Economic Forum. Hear from Roland Busch, the Siemens president and CEO. Padraig McDonnell, the Agilent CEO. Singaporean Deputy Prime Minister Kim Yong. Anish Shah, the Mahindra Group CEO and Managing Director. And Stephanie Pullings-Hart, the Nestlé Executive Vice President and Head of Operations.
Policy, that's usually extremely important. Mr. Deputy Prime Minister, Singapore has been playing a key role in the region and beyond over the past few years in terms of smart manufacturing. Tell us more about what are some of the best experience you have acquired, and yet do you think there are several areas that can still be improved, not only with your regional partner, but also international partners? Please.
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me to this dialogue. I think it's a very interesting and exciting topic. Policies provide support and the necessary measures to allow that to happen. But the companies and the businesses must take the lead in the transformation of the manufacturing facilities. And in Singapore, we do it in two ways. First, we work with individual companies, big and small, to help them, to enable them, to support them, provide incentives for them, to invest in automation, invest in transformation, invest in AI. But we also recognize that many of the smaller companies, the MSMEs, they do not have enough resources to be able to tap into some of these latest technologies and automation and AI capability. And therefore, we also work with sectoral leaders to set up sectoral-based centers of excellence for manufacturing, so that these smaller companies will be able to tap on these larger facilities on a shared basis, so that they can also have access to the latest technology in automation and AI. This way, we allow the entire manufacturing, big or small, to be able to embark on this transformation journey. The bigger ones will be able to do it themselves, within themselves, to set up centers of excellence for manufacturing, automation, AI within the company. And the smaller ones will be able to tap on the sectoral-based, broad-based shared facilities for automation and AI. And these are the sectoral centers of excellence. Manufacturing, for example, we just announced the AI Center of Excellence for Manufacturing. So we want to encourage our manufacturers, the smaller ones particularly, to tap on these resources so that they can embark on this AI transformation journey. And once they are more familiar, they are able to develop their own capability, they are free to go on their own and set up their own company-based center of excellence. So this is how we, through policy, we help to support both large companies as well as small companies in the manufacturing to embark on this journey.
We heard from the policymakers. But what about from our business players, especially on the ground? How on the floor of the factories, these frontier technologies are really translating into real smart manufacturing? Mr. Busch.
Yeah, very good point. And I just defined it from the example of the industrial metaverse. Yeah. What it is, it's a photorealistic, physics-based, real-time representation of the real world. Imagine that you have a plant where everything, what you see there, you have in a digital world, including the people working on the shop floor and everything, real-time photorealistic. And what do we need, now we're coming to this point of these frontier technologies, we definitely need a digital twin, a physics-based digital twin, which behaves like the real world. So example is when in a gaming world, when you move a robot very fast, it's perfect. In the real world, it starts swinging, so you need physics-based. Otherwise, you cannot really make this real. Second, so digital twins. Secondly, you need all the hardware which you run in the software needs to be software-defined, has a certain software. It has to be connected. Your sensors, your devices, whatever you have. Talk about software-defined hardware, software-defined automation. And the last element, guess what it is? It's data and AI. AI is supercharging what we do on the shop floor, how we build this technology stack. And this enables completely new ways of how you really transform your manufacturing on the shop floor. Last element, and you said it, partners. Even though Siemens has spent $6.5 billion on R&D and we have a strong portfolio, it's not good enough. We need strong partners. And I give us 3 examples how that looks like. We have a couple of WEF lighthouse factories, one in Erlangen, for example, where we are pushing the limit to that what we call this industrial metaverse. You see a robot alley. You see a lot of any kind of automation devices, whatever we do. We have a digital twin of some cells. Not the whole plant yet, but we get there. What are the benefits? 70% higher productivity, 40% less energy cost, and what's very important, 40% lower time to market. So it's really amazing how we speed up. Partner, NVIDIA, because if you want to do something photorealistic, you better get a strong partner with you in Omniverse. We do that. Second example, industrial copilot and related agents. So we're using Microsoft large language models in that case to build an industrial copilot in the programming phase. I think this is well known, many people do that, but also on the shop floor. So that means it's basically an expert system which ingests all the learnings which you have in the past, helping you if there's a red light, a line stops, and even if you're in a night shift, you don't have an expert, you have a co-pilot, you can ask something, and it comes back and tells you, I tell you this problem, we had it a couple of times, this is a problem, how you solve it, and what to do. Here, again, Microsoft is a partner. We have fleet customers, more than 100 in short time, which are tapping into that. The last example is low code. We want to democratize the way how you use software. So you need low-code capabilities. We have a Mendix platform, and we are empowering and supercharging this low-code platform with AWS Bedrock offerings for any kind of large language models which they have in their offering to really enable and supercharge any kind of low-code. Let me give you one last point. We do that for big customers, where we go with accounts in the automotive industry. But since you talk about it, how can you scale it and transform it? Don't forget the small and medium-sized companies. There are a couple of 100,000 in China or in India. There are 50,000, 100,000 in the United States, 40,000 in Italy. To democratize this technology, to scale it, you really need to make it easy to use, plug and play, and eventually sell it over marketplaces, where you need, again, a strong ecosystem to do that.
I see the lights in your eyes. We are describing all these players putting together. Very exciting, obviously. And that is the process going on right now. When you were talking, Mr. McDonnell seemed to always nodding his head because he has some similar experiences talking about lighthouse factories.
Yes, one of the things that we're seeing as well with AI as well, how we can train the workforce and make sure that we're developing the workforce with these new skills, because the workforce is going to have to learn and develop, and of course there's new skills needed. So having real skills matrices, understanding what are our skills today and what do they need to be for the future is one of our big areas. And of course with Singapore we have a world-class factory there where we're working with cobots and digital twins and working with talent development with the Singapore government about how we can continue to bring talent in. Last example in our lighthouse in Shanghai, where we produce our gas chromatographs, which are cornerstone of the analytical lab. We can have 1,000 customizations on these systems. You can imagine the complexity with that. AI has helped us to reduce the time from 8 days to 2 days in designing the systems and getting them up and running, doubling the output. And I think it also creates a really learning opportunity.
Coming from similar areas in terms of sector, but there's one consumer product, right? From Nestlé. Ms. Hart, would you like to share with us as to how it works in your sector, particularly?
You know, this digital transformation requires an investment in capabilities for our workforce. We are on this very, very robust journey and have great partners like Siemens, Aviva, that we're working with as well. But one of the things that we were talking about in the green room, when you do have a large number of employees, or even if you have a small number of employees, oftentimes we underestimate the impact of change management. And it is one of the most critical aspects that we are focused on as an organization, and that I encourage other people that are on the journey to also be focused on, because it could actually pause and really hold back the improvements that you could potentially see. The unlock for us as an organization, obviously, you know, labor productivity is a no-brainer, but it's more around looking at predictive analytics and allowing this generation of employees that we have within the workforce. Because if you think about it, we have people within our workforce that are extremely savvy. So the newer generation that kind of came out of the womb doing this and knows how to do that.
Right.
And a very mature segment that can be a little uncomfortable, and it can be a little intimidating. So we've actually done a lot, particularly in our markets in South America, in bridging that gap and pairing new generation with the more mature, I like to say mature, like a fine wine, mature generations together to unlock the potential and capability. So I'm excited to see what this means for the consumer sector, but it requires the work of partners, of government, and of learning institutions.
Yeah. That's a whole set of fascinating questions as to how to bring everybody on board. Mr. Shah, I know you also have fascinating examples to share with us. Would you like to do that right now?
I'm going to outline 5 areas of AI that we've actually used. One is what I call agility.ai, which is essentially the digital twin that Roland mentioned that helps us reroute production based on something that has gone wrong or based on something that has gone right. If there's greater demand for a particular variant, how can we create more of that? And how can we solve for challenges that we face from a supply chain standpoint? Eventually, this is also going to help us do real-time production where a consumer can order a particular vehicle with a certain set of features, a certain color, and we can show them on the production line, this is where you are, and then this is how your vehicle is being produced. The second one I call quality.ai, which is helping us on a number of aspects of quality. One is around weld integrity. Now, weld integrity typically had to be done by sort of destructing something and to check whether that is done well or not. There are a lot of parameters that go into understanding what a good weld is. And those parameters have been put into a model. We can use that model today to look at it and say, we don't need to go back and destruct something or check for quality. We know right up front whether this is a good weld or not, and we can correct for it immediately. Linked to that also is paint shops. And we use our vision.ai capabilities to look at paint on a vehicle and make sure that it's the right quality, there are no spots that are left out, and there's no rework that's required. And that also results in less use of paint, which saves us cost as well. The next one I'd look at is uptime.ai. And here in the past, we've had our history in the minds of people recorded in a sense on some platforms. And people look at it, if a machine's down, what do I do? Now we actually have a bot that, or an agent that walks through, here's what you should do. And the bot has information fed in from machine manuals as well as our history to be able to reduce downtime, and we'll be able to reduce downtime by about 10 to 15%, depending on which shop we're operating in with using this. The fourth one I'd look at is energy.ai. And how do we optimize energy in our plants? And there are, again, significant savings that we've gotten from doing this. We're not complete on this as yet. This is still a little bit of work in progress. And the last one is connected.ai, which is how do we connect all our machines together? Again, Roland, something that you mentioned. Something a little more straightforward than some of the other ones. But the net from all of this is what are the outcomes? And does this allow us to look at investments in each space, what do we get, but more importantly in the marketplace, how can we compete better? And we've just launched 2 born electric vehicles, and the questions we're getting back from customers as well as our investors is how can you afford to do this at such a low price as compared to the quality you're offering these vehicles? Are you making losses? I just had a media interview this morning where I was being grilled on that, saying, is this an introductory price? And I said, no, we actually have good margins on this. We just have better manufacturing tools that allow us to do it. So the outcomes are more important from that.
You might think you are better informed in an information age. The fact is, people are more often misled by misinformation. You might think every voice is heard in a digital world. The fact is, many nations and peoples are still underrepresented. And data poverty shuts out many. We at CGTN are committed to transcending the information gap and the digital divide. CGTN, bridging nations and civilizations. CGTN, see the difference.
would it be possible to see how we can allow your experience to be shared by other industries? Because you've done very well.
In other words, cross-sector.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
And that's actually what I was going to add, Wei. It doesn't even matter which sector that we're in, automotive, food, and consumer goods. The benefits and the opportunities that exist are really the same. And it's driving consistent quality. It's actually diving into data. And I think, data or accurate data is the currency of the future. And how you understand and the individuals that you actually bring into the organization that know how to handle and interpret data and AI are the ones that are actually going to be leading us to the future.
Yes, see, Stephanie is very much human-centered.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Very much how it works.
Absolutely.
But let me have Mr. Busch, and then I go to Mr. McDonnell, please.
Can I just respond to this,
Yes,
this
please,
question, which is, we are actually doing this today because a Tech Mahindra business, which is an IT services, is actually bringing a lot of its customers to our Chakan plant for them to see what's happening there. And part of what we are also struggling with, which I'll be candid on, is that the fact that this is a competitive edge for us, because we feel that we can make products 30% cheaper than auto manufacturers around the world. And the question
which is all right, because don't share it with other automotive. Share it with Nestlé, which is not in the same business.
Absolutely.
And all will benefit. Right. And share it with your suppliers, because you do want to level them up so that they are able to be competitive too.
Absolutely right.
Okay. But at this point where we come in, because this is how we make our living. Yes. I mean, we are not OEMs. I mean, we are tier one. With one exception, we build trains. This is one exception, and there's a very good one, which we're scaling technology. We are scaling technology all the way from the machine builders, machine tooling, which you have all in your sites. And then we bring technology to, all verticals, food and beverage, pharmaceutical, chemical, oil and gas, defense, aerospace, automotive. We call all these our customers. And this is the beauty about, this is what I talked about before, platform-based technologies, that you have certain elements which scale across. So the machine learning algorithm, which allows us to predict within lead time of 5 days to 10 days which door of a train is going to fail and why. Yeah. So we put it aside, repair it, and achieve almost 100% availability. The very same machine learning algorithm runs on a welding machine and detects a wrong welding spot. The technology which allows us, for example, to optimize your machines when you fill a yogurt and you change your mixture, you have a lower fluidity and you don't want to spill. So we train it, rather than you stopping the line, we know exactly in simulating how that goes, so that you can just change your recipe and run it. Yeah. The same algorithm runs in a chemical plant where you have batch processing.
Yeah, I think what you really have to remember is the why in all of this. We're increasing productivity. We're making it easier for workers to, of course, create new products. But it really brings us closer to the customer.
Yes.
It brings innovation closer to the customer, and it actually allows us to interact closer with the customer. And beforehand, sustainability and productivity were seen as maybe different things. AI is allowing those to merge in terms of our sustainability goals and productivity, helping with that in terms of cost, etc. And when you think about the purpose of a company and the people in the company to work, aligning that purpose to the customer outcomes and using technology to bring these outcomes quicker, I think is one of the key areas from a change management point of view.
Yeah. So we are excited about this trend. But while we are excited about it, there are a lot of questions that is still unanswered, even though we have already gradually find some answers. For example, every one of you already provided. What about the relationship between human and AI-generated technologies or robots, where the list goes on? Have you given some more sophisticated thinking about this link? How do you see these technologies are really going, especially how would they intertwine during the process?
This is a very important question. In fact, has been a question that the Singapore government, I'm sure governments around the world, have been focusing on. How do we ensure the journey towards automation and AI will be beneficial, not to just a small segment of companies and workers, but broad-based, so that everyone can see the benefit of it. I think this is a very similar experience we've gone through in the early days when we have gone through the basic automation revolution. I think there will also impact on the workforce, workers and businesses. Some businesses have to transform. And therefore, this transition is very important. And how well we manage the transition will also determine how successful we will be at the end of the journey when we emerge from a transformation. So I think from the Singapore government point of view, we pay a lot of attention in managing the workforce transformation. And we develop actually industrial transformation maps for all the key sectors of industries in Singapore. And on top of that, within each industry transformation map, we also have developed manpower transformation strategies for each of the industry sectors to make sure that we are well prepared for the future as industry goes through a transformation journey. And one of the key focus in the manpower transformation map really is focusing on training and retraining and reskilling. And we introduced a scheme called Skills Future Singapore to allow Singapore workers to tap on the resources that the government provides in terms of subsidy for the cost fee of training, even in terms of a subsidy for their payroll, which some of them may have to take no pay leave for a long period of time to go through formal, long form of education, to take another diploma or another degree so that they are able to change their career pathway to something that they've never learned before. So I think these trainings are very important and they are costly, but the government is prepared to invest in them. So we provide subsidy for the training courses, at the same time provide support for their income if they have to leave their job or on no pay leave in order to pursue this training. But we think it is very important part of our journey towards this transformation. And therefore, I think we are emphasizing on this. But it's also important for us to partner the industries very closely. My earlier point I mentioned in the beginning, that this transformation, these training courses and upgrading must be relevant to the industries. And therefore, we are very keen to partner our industries to embark on this training journey.
Sitting here, we have a very much diversity of economies coming from all over the world. So what you're talking about, are they applicable elsewhere? Have you ever thought about that question as a policymaker? Sir, very briefly before I go to the next.
I think it is important. Different countries will have different economies, will have different considerations, different priorities, and many countries actually have a lot of resources. And sometimes it's not just about money, but about the concept, about the determination, about the focus on what you want to do. And this, in a way, if you look at it, it's an investment in the future. It is not a cost that you write off. So it's something that's important for companies around the world, governments around the world, to pay attention to training and upgrading so that you are able to transform your workforce to be in line with the development and evolution of the industries.
Right. And they have to do it fast.
They have to do it fast.
No, I think, frontier technologies, when you think about it, it really is about accelerating and enhancing the human potential, the ability to learn going forward for two reasons. It's not only to increase productivity, but also to enhance innovation. And in one of our plants, when we're using augmented reality with our workers and when we're using advanced models, we actually see the attrition level drop to 1/3 of what we see in the marketplace, because we're giving people opportunities to learn new skills, really allow us to bring out more complex products faster. And it's going to really also help hyper-customization that's going to be required by our customers. So I really think about it as an integrator for enhancing human potential.
What about that human-machine collaboration look like? Not just for now, which you all described. What about 2 to 5 years, Mr. Busch?
First thing is, also in a broader context, to have to take the anxiety away from the people that this costs my job, I cannot learn it. I mean, the young generation is easy to adapt, but the more mature ones, they need to learn into this technology. So I think people have to get used to having a digital colleague, a digital agent. I mean, you have a lot of colleagues, and I have a new one, a digital one, and these guys are growing and they are smart, but they will never, they will never take your job away, but they take your existing job away, but it creates a new one, which makes a difference. So, and coming to your point, education and training, how you do that, how you interact, how you prompt, and taking the people along with you. We are also defining, I think, 30 different job profiles of where you are, what capabilities you have, and what you want you to learn. It could be a 1-week training course, could be 3 or 6 months. And we have a pipeline of 80,000 people. We're investing more than 400 million euros in education and training of people. So therefore, and as you go along, and as you start appreciating that your work is just getting much easier, and you can dedicate your work to what you're really good at, makes such a big difference. And maybe a last one is coming to your point about can everybody afford it? The good news is also digitalization, because most of our trainings currently run digital. So, and we have a digital training platform, 100,000 offerings there. I mean, prompting courses, which God knows how many people already use. And we are opening this platform also to third parties.
Look at history, because there's a lot of noise around jobs being lost with AI. But in the manufacturing sector, in automotive in particular, most of the jobs were lost with robotics. Right? So if you look at what manufacturing plants were like 30 years ago and what they're like today, you see a huge difference in terms of people on the shop floor versus not. So AI is going to change some things, but really not as much as what robotics has done. So I just want to provide that perspective first. So as we look forward, I think the key, as both the Deputy Prime Minister and Mr. Busch have mentioned, is going to be around skilling and upskilling. Because we're going to create new opportunities. If you think about it from a customer perspective, if we improve what the customer wants, we're going to create new mechanisms or new ways of doing things. And that's what's going to take jobs. So in our history, we've always had multiple things that have taken jobs away and made life easier in a sense for people. But there always has been a new set of jobs. Another classic example is at the airport. In most places, we don't have a check-in counter that we check in. It's the kiosk that we do, and that again has taken away lots of jobs. But
that's not that many compared to the auto manufacturing, right?
Compared to auto manufacturing 30 years ago or now. So you look at both perspectives. So I think these are the things that we've got to keep in mind. So it again starts with the customer. And the last point I'll mention there is the organization has to be a purpose-driven organization. So when you start with purpose, it gives a lot more comfort. Again, as Mr. Busch mentioned, that comfort is essential for people, that we're going to do things the right way. And if you're going to do things the right way, then you have everyone collaborating with you to make it happen. And to me, that is the most important part for the future.
Yeah. Ms. Hart, I know she has a great point on that too.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was going to compliment and maybe just give a slightly different perspective as well. To leveraging AI and what it looks like 2 to 5 years from now. You know, quite frankly, I think that we are experiencing in many parts of the world labor shortages. You know, my kids are not the ones that are raising their hand saying, I'm going to go into manufacturing, you know, or work in a distribution center. And so this is also an opportunity.
Or consumer products.
Or consumer products, right? Yeah. And so, I mean, I'd like to bring sexy back to manufacturing and distribution and make it attractive. And one of the ways to be able to do that is to really leverage and build on technology and show the opportunities that can exist so that we can consistently provide you with the best cup of coffee, you know, every time you drink Nespresso or Nescafe. So that, you know, I think that it complements, as you actually said, AI and humans complement each other, and it's just a different skill set and part of the evolution. And you know, when you think about maybe for all of us on stage, we remember where the world was when there wasn't a remote control for a television, or there wasn't this thing we call an iPod. There was a record player, there was a cassette player, and you push play and record. And you know, we've seen this evolution go really fast, but we've all adapted.
Yeah, thank you very much. Everyone on this panel, well worth 5 hours of interview. But we tried to squeeze them into 45 minutes, and they did such a great job with the help of all of you. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
So did you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, sir.